Welcome to Cities on the Move. I'm your host, Stephanie Passingham. New Richland, Minnesota recently battled unexpected flooding during a late-season storm. Tim Penny from the Southern Minnesota Initiative Foundation joins us to talk about a program to help local businesses throughout the region recover from the damage. Christian Stewart gives us a sample of his trumpet skills and describes his trip to Indianapolis to play with the 2010 National FFA Band. And for our feline friends, we check out the Cat's Cottage Inn, a spa for cats. We'll have all this and more. Stay tuned for Cities on the Move. Christian Stewart recently returned from hour after hour of practice and performance in Indianapolis as part of the National FFA Band. Let's find out more about this talented trumpet player.
Hi, my name is Christian Stewart. I am from Heartland, Minnesota. I have lived there for 16 and a half of the 18 years of my life. I became interested in music when I was 8 years old. My dad got me interested when he asked me if I wanted to take piano lessons. And I had always wanted to learn how to play the guitar, but he told me I had to learn how to play the piano first. So I started up with piano in 3rd grade. Her name was Cindy Christensen. She lived in Freeborn and she taught out of her home. It was a lot easier learning out of her home than I think it would have been if it was in a more pressure situation, like a professional player or something. It was more one-on-one coming out of her home and having her as a friend more than a teacher. Started up on the guitar in 6th grade, so 3 years after I started with piano. I play the piano and the guitar and the trumpet, and I'm learning how to play alto sax. For a long time, the piano was my favorite instrument, and that's kind of, I don't want to say it's changed, but it's about even with the piano now, my trumpet is, and I really have learned to love the trumpet, whereas when I first started to play, it was just, I just joined band because all my friends were in it, and now I'm kind of learning to really love playing the trumpet, and I've been playing it more and more and practicing a lot at home and really developing a love for it that I didn't have originally. I've been able to play in our high school pep band and our jazz band and our marching band and concert band, and I've also been able to play with the Gustavus Honor Band, and I will actually be performing with them again this year, and in a few weeks I will be playing with the Winona Honor Band. And I have been able to play with the State FFA Band and obviously the National FFA Band. Well, we got to fly out to Indianapolis and we spent 8 days down there. And the first day, or actually the first 4 days, were just practice. And we got everybody together and we just practiced our music all day, every day. And then after those 4 days of practice, we had performances every day the rest of the week, and pretty much all day. The best part about being out there was all the people I got to meet, all the people from all over the country, and made so many lifelong friends, and I really met some amazing people. I love being able to make music that really speaks to people.
Well, today we're going to talk about an issue that's affected not only the New Richland area, but several parts of our region, and this has to do with some of the late storms that occurred in our area. Kind of had a late storm season, and our special guest today is Tim Penny, who is with the Southern Minnesota Initiative Foundation. Welcome to the program.
It's always good to be with you.
Great, thanks for being here. Well, let's talk a little bit about what prompted this new program that you have to offer at the Initiative Foundation.
Well, our Initiative Foundation is an economic development foundation. We have about $5 million per year in loan money, grant money, and other programmatic dollars that we can expend into this 20-county region of south central southeastern Minnesota. And because of our economic development focus, when a disaster hits our area, we have historically found a way to be of assistance to those businesses that are struggling to recover. 3 years ago, when the flooding hit Rushford and Houston and portions of Winona County, we put together, with the help of the Department of Economic Development, the McKnight Foundation, Mayo, and other funders, a fund of somewhere in the neighborhood of $800,000, and then we offered quick start recovery grants to 116 or 117 businesses affected by that flooding, and it allowed them to just buy the basic things you need, office supplies, office equipment, to get their doors open again. Then this past summer, we initiated a tornado recovery fund with over $100,000 to help the 102 rural businesses or farms that were devastated by those tornadoes that rolled through Freeborn and Faribault and Steele County, and a little bit of damage in some adjacent counties. So here we were faced with another disaster in a very short period of time, affecting perhaps a dozen communities with a few businesses here and a few businesses there in those floodwaters. Owatonna alone had over 30 businesses affected seriously by the flooding. And because of our tradition, our history of stepping forward with a recovery grant program, we quickly put in place another program. We got some matching dollars from the Department of Economic Development, and then other funders, AgStar, Mayo, Blend, and McKnight, and more stepped forward. So we have a fund of in excess of $300,000 that will allow us to provide grants somewhere between $2,500 and $4,500 per business who were affected by this very, very serious flooding.
When you have these different events that occur throughout the years, do you typically close out those funds, or are you able to carry them over from one disaster to the other?
Historically, we've closed them out. We raise the money and we expend the money and use all of the funds. What happened with the tornado recovery earlier this summer is we did have a few $1,000s that we didn't need, and so we just on a prorated basis refunded that to one of our donors.
To your donors,
And in this case, we hope to use all of the dollars, but we will be well, we will know more because we've still got a couple weeks running in which we're going to keep the applications open, and of course we're going to have to calibrate this based on the number of applications that come in. We expect somewhere in the neighborhood of 80 businesses, all told, that will be applying for this assistance, and that will include businesses from as far west as Truman, to New Richland, to Owatonna, Faribault, Northfield, and then beyond into Zumbro Falls, Hammond, and into Wabasha County. So it covers a lot of communities over a wide territory.
What kind of criteria are you implementing? Because these are grants, is that correct?
Well, they're, you know, I guess we treat them as grants. They're sort of forgivable loans in a sense that as long as they stay in business and meet the terms and requirements, we just take receipts on the kinds of things they purchase in order to get their doors open again, and it becomes, in essence, a grant for that business. And these Quick Start Recovery grants, we feel, were very instrumental in helping Rushford and other communities recover from that devastating flood a few years back. It was early money, and that's really critical because you wait a long time for FEMA to come in. You wait actually like a month before the designation is even there, and then it takes longer to qualify. You wait a long time to determine whether you're eligible for the disaster loans that the Small Business Administration makes available. The state legislature provides some dollars, but a lot of that is for infrastructure. It's for the communities to rebuild their streets, their bridges, etc. And so we find that these early dollars really do help businesses with some cash in hand to to just begin rebuilding right away or to reimburse themselves for out-of-pocket expenses that they've incurred. Some have insurance and some don't. We do stipulate that we want them to be clear with other assistance later on that they've already received some assistance from us. But we just have them sign a very short form agreeing that they'll abide by these guidelines and that they will provide the receipts to us in the amount of the assistance that we've provided, and it's as simple as that. But again, it's early money while they're waiting for other assistance to arrive.
To come through. Typically, you mentioned kind of office supplies, some of those pieces. Can people use the funds for, you know, scooping out the mud? I mean, sometimes that's
well, you've got to hire people to do
issue.
that, and you've got to replace, you know, sheetrock, and so it can be used for the building itself. What we found in Rushford is the vast majority were used for the kind of office supplies, office equipment, because that's well, that's just stuff you need right away, even while you're waiting for your building to be refurbished. You do want your business to be open, and you need some of those basic supplies to do so. But we simply ask that in exchange for the assistance, there's some documentation of how the money was helpful and how it was used.
Okay. You guys have done a great job of corralling the resources of the area and getting matching dollars and pulling people together. Talk a little bit about your efforts in that regard and some of the folks that have really stepped forward, and you're still taking donations for this fund. Is that correct?
Well, if you want to send money our way, we won't turn it down. We do have, you can click on our website and find a way to donate there. And so how this is going to unfold, first of all, we have done it before, so we've developed a reputation for doing this. When groups, particularly groups outside our area, look at a disaster within our area, they're trying to find a way to provide assistance. Well, you do have a lot of wonderful organizations, the United Way, the Red Cross. They've got their role, and they provide enormous assistance to individuals, to homeowners, etc. In our case, we're focused on business recovery, and there are certain donors that are very interested in helping businesses recover, and we are one way that they can provide resources to us, and in turn we can provide that assistance to business. So in this case, of course, the Department of Economic Development was huge because they have determined that they will make available to us as much as $150,000, which to us is sort of a loan, but it's a forgivable loan to the extent that we forgive the assistance that we're providing. So if we essentially make these grants, then that becomes a portion of their contribution that we don't have to repay to the state. And that's calibrated by how many businesses stay in operation over a period of time. I don't know of a single business in Rushford that isn't still in business today. So we expect the same success with our program this time around. Indeed, really has provided with that amount of money to be matched by other donors, the basis of this fund. But other donors stepped up very quickly to take us to 250, to match that entire 150,000. As a foundation, we put $25,000 of our own toward that match. AgStar put in $25,000. I believe $25,000 came from the McKnight Foundation, $25,000 came from the Mayo Foundation, $20,000 came from Blandon. We had several other donations come in from other firms in the area and a couple banks in the area that wanted to be helpful. So very quickly we were over $300,000 in this fund, and now we're in the process of taking applications and trying to get this assistance out. All
right. Who's responsible for reviewing the applications once they come in?
Yeah, we do. And our staff is very experienced in this. We actually had people on the ground in Rushford dealing with those 116, 117 businesses in that region a few years ago. This time around, we are doing a lot of outreach. We're working through local chambers of commerce. We're working through county disaster agencies in order to make sure that we are aware of all the businesses that may have been affected. It's really up to the businesses to make application, but we're doing as much outreach as we can to make sure that they're all aware that this is available if they view it as useful to them. And then we do have expert staff that manage this program. We're a grant-making agency, so we know how to make grants and how to review criteria. But we're also a lending foundation where we do some business lending, so we have that kind of expertise on staff as well. And we've got a good team that will review these applications, make sure that they fit with the criteria, the guidelines that we've established for the program, and if they do, then the checks will be in the mail. They'll be delivered.
All right. What is the application deadline for folks that are?
They have until November 15th to apply. So, I mean, here again, we call these quick start grant programs because we want this money to be in the hands of these affected businesses very early. And I think from the time that we saw the flooding 3 years ago until the time our last check went out the door, it was all within like a 3-month time frame. And we're hoping to shoot for a similar turnaround on our grant program this year.
Are the grants awarded of a specific dollar amount, or will it depend on how many people apply?
Yeah, this time we have the capacity to be flexible about that, depending upon how many applicants there are and how much money is in our fund. When we did this in Rushford, we calibrated it based on the size of the business and the magnitude of their loss. When we did it for the tornado a couple months ago, we just did a flat grant of $1,000 for every affected farm and rural business. This time around, I think we may be moving in the direction of a flat amount. It'll be at least $2,500, but it could be $4,500 because we do have this fund of $300,000 plus that's available. And we just don't know whether it's going to be 60 or 100 applicants, but we think somewhere in the 80 neighborhood. And the closer we get to the deadline, the more we can determine how to calibrate the amount.
All right. Is there someone specific on your staff that is heading up this initiative that viewers should be sure to contact?
Well, I think the key point of contact would be Pam Bishop, who runs our emerging business projects within the foundation. Susie Meneguzzo is also very much involved in managing both the grants coming into us to create a program like this and the grants that go out the door. So either Pam or Susie would be good points of contact. Our foundation number is 507-455-3215. But you can also Google the Southern Minnesota Initiative Foundation, or you can find us at www.smifoundation.org, and on our webpage you'll find the contact information.
Yep. As you've been through a few of these grant rounds and assisting communities with some of this disaster recovery, when you look back, what tells you that you did a good job?
Well, as I said about Rushford, I don't know of a business that isn't still in operation down there. And of course, there was a lot of assistance that came into play. There was insurance, not for all businesses, but for many. There were other types of assistance, SBA disaster loans, et cetera. But I think our Quick Start Recovery grants at least helped folks right up front to have some hope that they could actually build back and become successful again. And the fact that all those businesses, to my knowledge, are still in operation today is evidence that this was a piece of their recovery, a valuable piece of their recovery. While it may have been small in dollar amounts, I think it was huge in terms of the impact that it had. So I think that's one way you measure success, and we have every reason to believe that with assistance to get their doors open again, the businesses here can recover and stay in business over the long term. You know, we do have some very small towns that were affected here, Zumbro Falls, Hammond. And it is possible, given the size of those towns and the fact that they really are in an area that can flood, not just in a bad downpour the way we had a few weeks ago, but they can flood more frequently than a community like Owatonna or Faribault. They may not rebuild there, but we've been flexible enough to say that if you intend to rebuild somewhere in this 20-county region that we serve, we'd be open to giving you a grant for a recovery somewhere within, because we want to keep those businesses, should they decide to reopen, keep those businesses here in southern Minnesota. So that's a piece of flexibility that we are able to provide because we are a regional economic development foundation, and we're looking at the economic health of the entire region.
Great. And one more time for viewers, the general area, if they are located in Faribault, Freeborn, Steele.
Oh yeah, you want me to name all 20 counties? Look, it's
so
everything
all
in
20
South Central,
counties.
South. Yes, but we have about 11 counties or 12 that
are impacted
were
by this most recent.
designated by the government as disaster counties. And so businesses within those counties would qualify for our assistance, and we are working through the chambers of commerce and community groups and others to make sure that all of these businesses have become aware of this recovery program. And of course, for many, many years, my wife and I and our kids lived in New Richland, And so we know that only a few businesses there, including the nursing home, were affected, but this program is certainly available to help those businesses in that nursing home recover.
All right. So folks, if you are within that 11-county federally designated disaster area and your business has been impacted by this, be sure to give the Southern Minnesota Initiative Foundation a call or check out their website. Thank you so much for coming in. You guys have done a fantastic job stepping up to the plate here in our region.
You bet.
All right. Stay tuned for more Cities on the Move. Lounging on a cozy perch or chasing a toy through the halls, the visitors to the Cat's Cottage Inn make themselves right at home. Let's check it out.
Personal maid service, a hot water bottle at bedtime, lounging in a sun-filled room. Ah, the delights of a relaxing vacation. Bonnie Anthony of New Richland, Minnesota, specializes in providing a pampered retreat. Only her customers are a little out of the ordinary. Bonnie caters to cats. The Cat's Cottage Inn was developed from scratch as a luxury boarding facility exclusively for your feline friends.
I grew up on a farm, so we had many first personal cats, many barn cats that I had. We had one cat that we had gotten from an uncle, and she had kittens almost every year, and so I spent a lot of time up in the haymow with the cats. I had seen an article in a magazine that is based out in New England about a girl that had a really nice facility out there. And I just got thinking about it, and I thought, you know, there's really no nice place around, and I did some research, and there wasn't any nice place anywhere around in Minnesota or anywhere. And so I did a lot of online research about it and just decided that this was probably a need that could be fulfilled.
Bonnie's especially drawn to the unique personality of cats.
I like that they probably aren't so easily pleased all the time like dogs are. Each cat is really an individual, and so you never know what you're going to get. And I like that aspect of it. I took into account the fact that cats, you know, like to jump and be up high. They like places to hide into. They want to be alone usually, or only with cats from their own family because they're very territorial. So I wanted to make sure that there was a solid wall between each room so that the cats didn't have to look at each other. Also, cats love to look out the windows. And so we made sure that as many rooms as possible had windows in them, so they could lay there and look out at the birds and the butterflies, and also just have the sun come in and warm them up during the day. The antics that I see, I really love to have the young cats come because they're just full of energy, and they run all over, and they love to chase things, you know, and they just fly around, you know, from the different perches and stuff. And so I really enjoy that. And I do enjoy the older cats too because they're usually they just want some time, you know, with you to be held and cuddled and things like that.
Bonnie made a conscious decision to exclude dogs from the boarding facility.
We choose not to board dogs because cats really need a place of their own. A lot of facilities do board both cats and dogs, and it's really stressful for the cats because they can hear the dogs and they can smell the dogs, and I just thought cats deserved a place of their own.
While short stays are more the norm, some cats stay with Bonnie for long stretches at a time.
I get some local business, and I also get business from far away, you know, like not necessarily far away, but like Northfield, Owatonna, Faribault. Quite a number of people from the Twin Cities are willing to drive down. I've had people like from St. Cloud, Wilmer. I had one couple that came from Michigan. Actually, they were going out west, and they said there was no other place, and so they traveled with their cats for a couple days and left them here, and then they spent time, a couple months out west, and then when they came back, they picked them up.
The variety of toys, obstacles, comfy rooms, and pampered attention keep her occupants purring with contentment.
The features, I would say, are the fact that we have an actual room for the cat. You know, that an actual walk-in room. People can actually be inside the room with the cat if they want to. There's the windows, and we have bird feeders outside all the windows for the cats to have entertainment while they're here. Just the sun coming in, and then we have the sunroom and the playroom where there's cat towers and toys and perches on the walls, and we have lots of just different toys for the cats to play with. And we've really made the accommodations very specific just for cats with the way that it's built. Well, they're here, you know, kind of how a normal day goes is I come in the morning and I'm cleaning their room. You know, we sweep and clean each room every morning, and while we're feeding, and while I'm doing that, you know, we have some interaction time, and sometimes they just want to run around, and sometimes they want some, you know, together time. And then after all the rooms are cleaned and everybody's fed and happy, then we kind of start the rotation process where they each get their turn out into the sunroom, you know, a couple times during the day. And then we also offer a hot water bottle at night, and that's just a round disc that goes in the microwave, and we gently warm it up and it stays warm for 12 hours. And then we just tuck it in their bedding with them at night. And it's great for older cats who may be arthritic or just want that extra warmth at night. My goal while cats would stay here is that they feel safe and secure and loved.
At the Cat's Cottage Inn, your feline just might enjoy a better vacation than you.
And now for the calendar of events. It's time for the Tundra Swans to travel through our area again. A guided bus tour to see the swans will leave Winona on Saturday, November 13th at 9 a.m. and return by 3 p.m. Participants will travel to Weaver, Minnesota for views of tundra swans and other waterfowl. The tour will then travel to the Wisconsin Islands closed area near Brownsville, Minnesota. Seating is limited and reservations are required. To make your reservation, call before November 9th to 507-494-6236. On November 23rd, Bethany Lutheran College students will present their Fall Honors Recital. Bethany students enrolled in studio lessons audition for the privilege of performing at this recital. Offerings will include pieces for voice, keyboard, and instrument. The recital is free and open to the public. For more information, visit blc.edu. The Charles H. McNider Art Museum in Mason City, Iowa presents Mark Sejan, Being Alive. Through January 8th, his work will be on display. Wisconsin artist Mark Sejan's exhibition features hyper-realistic human sculptures. Hours are Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Thursdays from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Admission is free, and for more information, visit mcniderart.org. If you have an event to share with our viewers, log on to ksmq.org and post it today. Next week on Cities on the Move, we visit another great city in our region. Please join us Tuesday, November 16th at 6:30 p.m. on KSMQ for another edition of Cities on the Move. I'm your host, Stephanie Passingham. Good night.
Production of this program is made possible in part through a grant from the Blandin Foundation.